Hi, my name is Jordan, and this is Borrow My Kitchen. I'm a colleague of Brad's. We've worked together for about 8 years now, and this is a dish that I approximated from a restaurant that I went to. It's going to be a chicken marsala with risotto, and it's going to be pretty garlic forward. For this recipe, you will need 1 onion, 1 clove of garlic, 32-ounce container of chicken stock, marsala wine, package of risotto, butter, 8-ounce container of mushrooms, some Parmesan cheese, 1 package of chicken, and 1 bunch parsley. So we're going to do some prep. We're going to cut up this onion and about 10 cloves of garlic. Like I mentioned, it's garlic forward, so you're going to want that coming right out at you. You'll also notice my knife work is impeccable. And I feel like I've been tear gassed. It's a sensation that brings you back to prison. Takes you to places you never thought you'd be. Okay. So we have our onion diced up. Up there. And as I mentioned, this is a pretty garlic forward dish, so we're going to get about 10 cloves of garlic here. Get this started. It's always the first one. There we go. Now, in case anyone there hasn't seen this before, there's no reason to spend a lot of time peeling garlic if you just lay it up like that, smash it once, peel comes right off. Save yourself some time. There you go. You'll never peel another clove of garlic. Might be too, it's a twofer. Ooh, okay. Good thing about this is that for a day after you eat it, everyone knows that you ate it. Friends, family, people on the bus. So we're going to dice up our garlic. We got a healthy amount of garlic here, as mentioned. All right, so what else we got here? We got some parsley and some mushrooms. And mushrooms, always a good idea to give those a quick rinse. We all know what they grow in. And you cut up a package of mushrooms, it always looks like a lot when you start out. They soak up a lot of fluid and shrink a lot once you cook them. So even if this looks like a lot, not to worry. These all get really small by the time we're done. And in a risotto, they're magic. These are Baby Bella. You can go with anything you'd like. I've never really, I've used white mushrooms, creminis, shiitakes, Baby Bellas. It's as long as there's mushrooms in there, whatever works for you. It should be a sufficient amount of mushrooms here. You subtracted about 4 or 5, and you can put those on the salad. All right. Oh, brilliant. Okay. All right, we'll put those back, save those for later. And last thing I got to do up here is the parsley. Okay. You don't need this whole thing of parsley here, just it's really kind of at the end that we do anything with it. So, but as I'll discuss in a moment, good idea to get everything prepped beforehand. So we're just going to roughly cut up about that much. That should be plenty. Little goes a long way. And I'm going to keep that separate from our aromatics right now because we'll be putting this in right at the end. If you're like me, I don't like a giant mess at the end. So if you kind of do this as you go and mess up Brad's floor. So that's about the prep work that's involved. Again, we're going to dice up our garlic, our onions, our parsley, and our mushrooms. And then we can go ahead and move on to cooking this after we dice up the chicken. Let's talk about the chicken here for a moment. Because of the way that we're going to be cooking this, you'll see in a minute, you can definitely do this with a big bone-in single chicken breast. Probably taste a lot better. In the interest of a cooking show here, I got some chicken strips just so we can kind of cube this up and it'll go a lot faster. But if you're like myself and you like a bone-in chicken, that would definitely work good in here. Shouldn't get dried out. You'll see again because of the way that we're going to cook this. It'll be in fluid the whole time, so it's gonna stay not dried out. Gross. Okay. Get all the salmonella off me. I've eaten off a bus stop floor in Calcutta. I haven't, that's not true. I survived that. Before we're gonna cook any of this chicken, we're gonna get a little bit of flavor on it. Just a little salt and pepper. Do you have any poultry seasoning at all? Is that poultry seasoning? Does that sort of like what? Okay, let's dive into Brad's spice rack cabinet and see. That's okay. It's not required at all. We're good. We don't need it. It's fine. It's fine. Not that important. So you don't need to marinate this chicken up that much. We're just gonna do a little salt and pepper on it. And now that we have everything prepped, we're gonna get ready to put this to fire. So we're gonna get this skillet warm and do this up with just a little olive oil. That's about right. That's a nice skillet. We're gonna give that a minute, let it get to, definitely before it starts smoking. All right, so we got the oil in this pan about up to temp here. We're gonna drop in our cubed up chicken. Again, I just cubed this up. It's going to cook a lot faster today. If you want to do some bone-in chicken, we're basically just looking to brown it, to sear it, and then we're gonna take it off the heat, and we're gonna keep using this pan, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Risotto is what they call a food of love, i.e. a pain in the ass. So you're going to be next to this as long as you make it. There's no put this in the oven, go watch a TV show. You are going to be tied to the stove at the hip. It's still worth it. I'm going to go ahead and hit this a little more salt and pepper. I believe they call this layering your spices, but I don't really know what that means. All right, so we've browned off this chicken, and I'm going to go ahead and put this on a separate plate. Some people will tell you to wash out your skillet, and those people are wrong. So we're going to use the same skillet. And keep all the flavor in there. Now, fun thing about skillets, they warm up slow and they cool down slow. So we're going to go ahead and let that mellow out. I'm going to turn the heat down here to 6 or medium-ish. If I were to pour some butter in there and the aromatics, that garlic is going to burn instantly and turn garlic, or turn bitter rather. So we're going to let that mellow out for a minute, get this pan a little bit cooler, and then in a moment we'll get started with the aromatics. All right, this pan is about right here. We're going to get a little butter going in here. And again, you can wash out the pan. You're going to lose all the flavor in there. And we can always wash out the pan when we're done. Let that get about right. I did. We picked the salted butter. There was unsalted butter in the fridge, but we went with the salted variety. And let that marinate for a moment. And we don't want to cook this too high. About medium heat, rather, is fine. Warmer than that, we're going to toast this garlic. All right, so that's looking about good. We're going to go ahead and pop in our aromatics. Before we pop in the risotto, we do need to toast the risotto before we put any liquid in here. So again, I like to let these sweat down for about a minute and get happy. And then we'll go ahead and pop in our risotto and start toasting that. And mushrooms are absolute sponges, so what I like to do is kind of coat the pan with some butter. And then once you pop this in here so things don't stick, just bam, put the whole thing in there. Let it soak all that up. Could be a good idea to do some wrist workouts because you're going to be stirring this pretty much the whole time you're making. There we go, get those a little bit shiny. And when your house starts smelling nice, we're going to go ahead and pop in our risotto and get that toasted for about a minute or so. This package of risotto is from the store, and it has this mystery pouch of freeze-dried something. You can just use regular risotto. I'm going to pop a little bit of this in there just to cheat a little bit, but if the risotto you buy doesn't have a freeze-dried package of garlic Parmesan, don't worry too much about it. Pop these in there. Boom. A good question, is risotto garlic or rice? I have no idea. I couldn't tell you. It's a weird cross between the two. You're just going to toss this around here a little bit with all the rest of our veggies here and get it a little bit brown and toasted. Don't have to do it too long, about a minute or so. All right, so this looks about right. Again, we're just looking for that rice to get a little bit toasted here and sweat down with the rest of our stuff. We're going to go ahead and pop our chicken back in there. Give that a stir. And from here, we're going to start adding some stock / wine and let that reduce. All right, so the liquids we're going to be using here is going to be some Marsala and some stock. I suppose you could put water in there and have the rice absorb that, but stock is going to be a lot better. So to start off, I'm going to do about half a cup of Marsala. This is dry Marsala. I've always seen it as just regular Marsala. I saw an option of dry or sweet. I'm going to go with dry. Sweet sounded a little bit scary to me. So we're going to pop in about half a cup of Marsala wine. Let that deglaze the pan a little bit. Stir up our good stuff on the bottom. And pretty much let that get up to temp. All right, we got our Marsala starting to reduce here. We've kind of deglazed that pan a little bit. From here, as I mentioned before, risotto is a food of love, i.e. a real pain. So we're going to add about 1 cup of stock at a time and let it reduce. And the general rule of thumb is 4 cups of stock for 1 cup of risotto, which is about what we have in here. So in theory, it should take about 4 cups for this to cook down correctly. Now, taste your food is what I would say. If the pasta is about al dente, it's done. So it might be 4 cups, might be a little bit more, might be a little bit less. Again, we're going to add about a cup at a time. Let it start bubbling and reducing. You want this at about medium-high heat. And then once the food goes down a little bit, add another cup. And once the pasta is done, it's pretty much good to go. So we're going to let that reduce a little bit more from here. And again, once that's done, we're going to add about another cup. Oh, okay. As you can see here, we've got to be a little mindful of how much this reduced. Ideally, we want to have this kind of on a simmer here and let it cook down pretty slowly. So move the heat down. Based off tasting a minute ago, I think we're going to need about 1 cup of stock, let that reduce, and then at the end, we're going to finish it with some more Marsala and some butter. So I'm going to do about another cup of stock here. I had this heat up at 7. It was a little aggressive. Yep. So this is looking about right. We're gonna taste this pasta and see how we're doing here. If this is no longer crunchy, just as a last step, we're going to finish it with some butter and maybe another half cup of marsala or something. Just about good. Still a little bit crunchy, but boom. Ugh. All right. Pop about another pat of butter in there. A little bit of marsala. Once that cooks down again, a little more salt and pepper there. I just tasted it. Could use a little bit. We're gonna be good to go here. As a last step, we're gonna add a little bit of parsley and some Parmesan, but we'll cover that in a moment. All right, so we can see this reduced most of the way here. I want kind of like that nice gravy consistency and to where it spills out onto the stovetop and it will harden and turn into a weird lump that you can never remove from the stovetop without a butter knife. As a last step here, we're just gonna toss a little parsley for a little color and maybe a little more salt and pepper to taste. Give your mileage may vary. But that is about it, folks. So again, we got some chicken marsala, some risotto, some nice garlic forward flavors. And of course, just to top it off, we're gonna roughly cut up some Parmesan. I suppose you could use the stuff in the green bottle, but this is gonna be a lot better. So here's the finished product, everyone. Once we let that cook down, and again, once that risotto is no longer crunchy, you're about good to go there. Let's give it a taste, everyone. Let's see how we did here. Go with this one. Oh, there. Oh, yeah. That's good. Again, once you see this thicken up a little bit, you're good to go. And just kind of go by the risotto. Once that's no longer crunchy, it's good to go. Thanks again, everyone, for watching today. Again, this has been Borrow My Kitchen. Be sure to smash the like and subscribe button as hard as you can.